Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Brown, as you were talking about Florida tomatoes, I couldn't help but remember some of my Georgia tomato growers back in 2008 when they had warehouses full of a crop that had just been picked, and they couldn't sell them because of a salmonella outbreak that ended up being Mexican peppers. There's no telling how many millions upon millions of dollars farmers lost through my area before I was in Congress, but I remember quite well some of the long-term families that had been extremely good farmers in the
We estimated $100 million was lost at that point, and there's been no way to recover that. In several court cases where the industry has tried to retrieve that money, we failed.
It literally, it probably killed some people just from the stress, and through no fault of their own. No fault of their own, people lost, in some cases, things that it took generations to build because it literally just harvested. You talk about, as we talk about renegotiations of NAFTA, I think it would be more of adjustments to an existing framework. But from the standpoint of the fruit and vegetable growers, what do the renegotiations need to contain to address your concerns on trade?
One of the big concerns that we've had a dumping case. The U.S. tomato industry's had a dumping case in place for 20 years. Many of these other commodities, especially where they're seasonal and perishable producers, are producing, for instance, our Florida strawberry industry produces about 15% of the fresh strawberries in the country, but they produce them from the period of December till about the 1st of March. They cannot avail themselves of U.S. trade law to defend themselves against unfair trade practices such as dumping or countervailing duty subsidization on the Mexican side of the border. And Mexico's pumped tens of millions of dollars into protected culture agriculture, which is exploding the productivity of the Mexican specialty crop industry, and it's coming back into the U.S. We need to have some way of allowing those industries to use the tools to defend themselves and create some kind of a carve-out under the trade law and under the treaty for perishable and seasonable producers to be able to join together to defend themselves.
Okay. Thank you for that. And as we go forward, I know we're not here to talk about the Farm Bill, but I know specialty crops is an area, going back to that 2008 scenario where the government made a decision that hurt those people, basically bankrupted them. And I hope we take a serious look at what we can do for specialty crops that they participate in. Been a lot of discussion on the chicken issues already with regard to Canada. Just one more time, how do we achieve greater access into Canada while making sure that we don't disrupt the market access that we currently have in Mexico, Mr. Brosh?
That's a good question, Mr. Congressman. We thought that the key to this was essentially a plurilateral agreement under TPP. We thought that this was our best chance to make progress in Canada because Canada had, Canada wasn't interested in TPP initially until it saw all the countries that were in there, and then they realized they had to be at the table or they were going to be left out. And this really put the pressure on Canada to do something about poultry access, and it's unfortunate that we're not in there. We're having a hard time seeing exactly what the leverage is at the current time. And as I said, we do have a fairly significant market in Canada, even though we would like to do better.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield the remainder of my time.